The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you.
All security!
What's up? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, and on the phone line is a recurring guest I had last year, and it was one of the most listened to shows, and it was an honor to have him on, so I'm glad to have him back. On the phone line is radio legend Phil Hendrie. He is on Hoppe Hour. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, man? What's up?
Nothing much, man. I got a really good response when I had you on the show last year, so it's a lot of fun to have you on again.
Oh, I'm happy to hear it. Thank God. Of anybody losing a listener, that's for sure.
How has everything been going with the podcast? It sounds like a well-oiled machine that just keeps on going, you know?
Yeah, it's going good. It's a business, Ryan, you know, and we have subscribers, and we turn out this product, and in a lot of ways, it's what I thought of. It's a lot of ways it's what I wished I would be doing at this age when I was in my 20s. I was thinking about hanging around a really cool beach house with a really pretty girlfriend and doing my radio show and not having any problems, you know.
Is there any part of you that misses being on the radio, or were the bosses just very hard for you to deal with?
Oh, I miss having the ability to change the medium because it's in such a sorry state, in my opinion. I mean, I don't mean to be raining on anybody's parade, but it's talk radio specifically is what I'm talking about, Ryan. It's become just sort of a one-note soapbox for right-wing talk radio, and even if it was a one-note soapbox for left-wing, it would suck because there's so much more possibility as an entertainment medium than just gas bagging politics all the time. So I do miss at least exerting some influence in a better direction there. But beyond that, no, man, because you didn't own your own material. You know, they paid you whatever they wanted to pay you. You had a lot of suits that don't care about the art. You know, I mean, I might have said this to you last time I was on it. We're the only medium, radio, that does not award its product based upon its quality. It's only awarded based upon its commercial viability. So, for instance, The Hurt Locker was one of the least viewed movies in Oscar history. I mean, I don't think they made a whole lot of money with that film, but it was such an excellent piece of work. It was nominated for an Academy Award, you know? That's the way it ought to be. That's the attitude we should have had in radio. And now we're further away from it than ever before, I think.
Do you think there's this thing where young people my age just kind of don't like talk radio? Like, I talk to my girlfriend's friends, my girlfriend, and they just don't really seem to be as into it as people in their late 20s to as life goes on. They seem like they're more into talk radio. Do you see this decline with quote-unquote millennials?
Yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the decline reflects the decline in the hit value of the medium, you know? We went from having, the kind of weird-ass stuff I was doing, or, Neil Rogers, or when Howard was on commercial radio, and that went away. Everybody went off the satellite or off the digital, and, because they were just sick and tired of working for these fools, and what did they replace it with? Just what I was telling you about, this one-note political talk. Even Rush, who I may not agree with him politically, but I've always said that he's an exemplary, and was at his very best, one of the best broadcasters I've heard, one of the most entertaining guys I ever heard. But he knew the media very well, he knew how to use it. Even he's just kind of slid into a kind of, I think a very stale presentation. So no wonder people are leaving, especially young people. You have an exodus of young listeners. Brother, you got a problem, man, because no business can survive that, I don't think.
I've been listening to Howard lately, and even though his show's really watered down, there's something about the guy that's so captivating. He can be talking about watching some TV show last night, and he just makes it very listenable. It's not the same show as it was in the 90s or 80s, but Howard, man, there's something about that guy that's just very talented.
Yeah, he's the best at being what they used to call being a real radio person, meaning you're real, but you know you're on the radio, so you're balancing two different worlds, the world of yourself and your complete honesty and your feelings, and the knowledge that you're being listened to by lots and lots of people, a lot of know, some of them kids. That's called entertainment, where you turn your own life into something that's listenable. And I don't think there's anybody better at it, man. I mean, it's an Howard Stern. And it's funny, Ryan, I remember when Howard was hitting stride in commercial radio. Commercial radio itself was so embarrassed by the guy that few people even wanted to talk about him. And I remember thinking, what is that about, man? Here is a cat that is so big that the dude's making movies. He's writing books. He's doing this. He's doing that. The technocrats that run the radio business are such small-minded little suits. They don't even want to acknowledge the guy's existence, and if they do, it's in a negative sense. That the guy's somehow because he uses a dirty word now and again. That's what's killed radio. And to bring it back, we need a whole new generation of executives and programmers who get it. You get what I'm talking about. We get rid of all of these others that are old school, post-World War II, bottom line, cut the budget kind of guys. And radio, when radio came up against television after the Second World War, they stripped the budget, man. They realized they had a fight on their hands. They thought they were going to lose it because television was everything. Even the movie business was afraid of TV. And they came along, and what they did is they invented the concept of the disc jockey. One guy with records. And those dudes, the whole weight of the world was kind of thrown on their back, and they made it happen, We got Wolfman Jack out of that. And we got, all these local cats that everybody remembers listening to. That you, unfortunately, your generation, you don't remember that, man. When we had local guys working their asses off, doing incredible shit, So we need to return to that. I don't know that we need to return to local only, or maybe we do. Maybe digital will bring that back. But, that's, I kind of went on about something other than Howard, but, you know what I'm saying.
I just think radio didn't really appreciate Howard and the other clones that were the local shock jocks in each market, because now you look at radio and it's just everybody's doing the same bits, the same prank calls, the same updates on everything going on with the Kardashians, that I think even if at times they were classless and tacky, it was just different than what you hear now, and I think it's being missed a lot, which is why 102.5 The Bone, where I work in Tampa Bay, is doing so well here. Is it doesn't sound like radio you hear in 2017.
Right. Yeah. I haven't heard your station, but I know what you're talking about, and I know that it grates on me when I hear a guy say it like Howard, and then you hear dudes trying to do his act, and it grates on the nerves. I'm embarrassed for them because I know somewhere there's a program director or a general manager telling them, do some of that Stern stuff, but you got to keep it clean now. You don't want to go too far over. Like, that guy's big, try and do this. There's somebody there telling them that. And unfortunately, we don't have people who encourage talent to be original. And what's interesting to you? How do you want to present things? The worst thing a program director can say to any talent is, that wasn't funny. Because that guy doesn't know what's funny. And he sure as hell doesn't know what the audience thinks is funny. He can tell that guy how to execute better. He can tell that guy about formatics. He can tell him about methodology. He can tell him about, okay, what is it that you're trying to do? Well, I want to do this. All right, let's help you do that, man. Let's help you get better at that. But you don't sit there and tell a guy what's funny, because now you're that's not the job description, and I don't care what PD says, he is not qualified to do that kind of direction. And I think that's what's hurt a lot of the originality of these kids, so they just turn around and they start copying what's popular.
Now, when you were coming into radio, were the people that were older than you, the veterans in radio, there to help out the young kids like you back in the day when you were getting into radio? Or were the egos not really down with helping you out? Because at times in radio, I feel like the guys who have been in radio for 20 years, the ones that are in their 40s now, just aren't really into helping you out. You know what I mean? It's a weird concept.
Yeah, that's too bad, man, because I remember breaking in. I was 19 years old, Ryan, in Orlando, Florida, and you always cross paths with the old timers when you're at the station, or in my case, when I was coming on the air at midnight. We had a guy named John Anthony. John was not too much older than me, actually, but he'd been around enough, and he helped me every step of the way, just with little things like how to cue a damn record, back in those days, and then things like, how to present a commercial, how to, talk up a record, how to loosen up a little bit. And then the other older guys, the same thing, because they liked talent, and they liked the business, and they wanted to see people succeed. And we didn't have that at all, man. I think the first time I ran into serious ego problems was probably when I got to Miami in the late 70s, and I was a music director at that point. And so part of my gig was, programming music. And I had run-ins with the talent over my choice of music. It wasn't really anything having to do with, how much I sucked on the air or whatever. Then when I got into the national thing, man, I got syndicated. Yeah, then you saw it there. You met a lot of guys that were complimentary or like you or whatever, but nobody that really wanted to hang much and talk the art of radio, because everybody was afraid of having their shit stolen, or everyone's afraid of spending too much time talking to this dude about business. I got to be back doing my thing and concentrating on my career, because that's what's really marks this era we live in. Everybody is about themselves, and I don't see the fraternity or camaraderie in the business, like I used to. I was in Atlanta 2 years ago for Don Anthony's morning show workshop, or I forget what it was, talk radio workshop. And I was sitting in the bar with three guys, each one from a different station, talking to them about things like owning your own material, starting your own website. These dudes had never heard anybody talk to them about any of this shit, and they were really concerned that what was happening in the business was going to happen to them, and that is, they were going to get marginalized out, and their shows would be worthless. And so it was a really good conversation, because it was about the nuts and bolts of surviving. Like, I don't know your thing right now, Ryan, what you do. I suspect you own this product, right?
I do. I do this on the side. I work in promotions at 102.5 The Bone, so I work the events, I get the board op, and I answer phones for the shows on occasion. But this is a side project. I hope to get the show on The Bone or on FM radio or Sirius XM. Obviously, that's the goal. But right now, this is a side project. I'm in my apartment in St. Petersburg, so this is me doing this on the side.
What if you could make more money with it as a digital product?
I have thought about it.
And yeah, because if you get it on The Bone or you get it on any of these other stations, you're not going to own that material. The station will. They'll stick it on their website. They'll charge a subscription fee for it, and you may get some money or none at all, because after all, they own it. Whereas owning it, your own website, and owning the product and selling either to commercial advertisers or subscribers means you now own that thing, man. And I ain't saying it's easy, because running a business is not easy. But at the end of the day, man, you're keeping 100% of your revenue. So that's what I'm talking about.
What is the key to beginning a business and trying to make something of the podcast? Because I do look up to what you, Anthony Cumia, Adam, Joe Rogan, how you guys make money and how you guys do so well with podcasts. And I know Adam has said before that the best part is he's famous, so it helps him out. But for young kids like us that want to emulate what you have done in podcasts, what are some ground points we should begin with?
Well, the first thing I would do is continue to hone the product, because what you're doing there on your podcast is going to be your product. So hone that product to the point that it's, you're really happy with it. What is it about? What is your show about? It's just like in radio. You gotta know what the spine of that show is. If your show was a book, and I was looking at the bookshelf, and I came to Ryan's show, what would that book say, man? What would be the name of that book? Like, for instance, if I was looking at Rush's book, it would say Excellence in Broadcasting, even though we know he's kidding, That's kind of, I Am the Authority might be another. If I was looking at Howard's book, it would be a real simple one, man, The Bad Boy of Radio. We're right away, we know that's Howard. So you want to have something that, even though other people may not know right away, that's who you are, that's your product. The next thing I would do, man, is you've got it up on the web. You're distributing it. Are you on iTunes? Are you on any platform like Podcast One, anything like that?
I'm on iTunes and I'm on TuneIn Radio, and then the site that I record live, I do a show live where I rant about the news. So basically, I record it on Spreaker, and then I'll film myself on Facebook Live and save it and put it on YouTube. So basically, I'm doing all the right things. I'm just trying to figure out how to take that next move, and I am intrigued by things like Podcast One.
Here's the thing. If you want a platform that'll promote you, because the good thing about being on a platform like Podcast One, or there used to be one called Sideshow Network, Earwolf, is that they have shows that they'll cross-promote you on that have lots of listeners. For instance, like Adam Carolla's on Podcast One. Earwolf has their guys, So, yeah, you have a conversation with those people. Now, they're going to say this to you. They're going to say, how many downloads have you got? They always love to say that. Do you keep track of your downloads per day or per week?
Over 2 years, I've gathered over like 120,000 listens and like 80,000 downloads. So I never know who's listening. And on Spreaker, it'll show me which markets listen. So I'm able to get that information. So I've done decent for the last 2 years.
They're going to ask you for that. And it depends on the company as to what that number will represent to them. Like they may say to a guy like Phil Hendrie, well, that's not enough, because you've been in the business a long time, man. You should have more, hits than that. Or to a guy like Ryan, Ryan Hoppe, that say, you know what, man, you got potential, So they're going to ask you that, and they'll ask you to sign a contract, which is no big thing. I think it's like 50-50 revenue split, whatever. But the more important thing, I think, is getting that exposure. So you've got Podcast One. TuneIn is really interesting, man, and I would suggest that you do this. Hit up TuneIn to do a live show, because TuneIn has the capability to put you on the air live. They've got a variety of channels that they're experimenting with over there, and they want to put some live product on there. They're doing it with sports. They're doing with some other things. Not meaning not carrying your show live, but being on TuneIn live. And if it's not that, then at least you're already on TuneIn live, so that's no problem there. But I'm talking about being a part of the TuneIn lineup. That's something that is a possibility. They do remote shows, so there's no sweat there. You're in St. Petersburg. They're actually TuneIn's actually out of Venice Beach, California, and their corporate is in San Francisco. Then, so you continue to grow there. You don't give up on the other thing, too, man, is see what kind of saleability there may be for your show. And by that, I mean, some cats charge 99 cents for an episode, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Are you doing any of that?
I see it as, because I'm young in radio, I'm not sure who would pay for my show, because it's not like I have a show yet. It's hard to explain. Like, I'm doing the show does real well. I just think it would be tacky with where I'm at right now in the business to make people pay for it. But I have thought about doing like premium content where it's something different. You know what I mean? And then you pay like 99 cents.
There you go. That's it. That's what you do, man. You got, okay, here's your show as it is now. Then do a premium show. So people will say, oh, yeah, I'm getting Ryan's show for free. Now, what's this premium content one, man? I may be interested in paying for that. So as long as you don't give up on the free content that they're getting, you can step up. And I would suggest that, too, because that will give you an idea as to, who's willing to subscribe, how much money they're willing to pay, what kind of bread can you reasonably earn. Are you hitting on a good idea with that premium content? Because if you are, and you're making a lot of dough there, you may want to give up on your free show or make some of those shows free and put them behind a paywall. So these are the things that you would do. And, demographics, it doesn't matter. Right now, digital's having a relatively, not a difficult time. It's a little sticky. I'm trying to figure out what the demos are. Podcast One's actually doing some pretty good work in that direction. They do have research numbers that they work with. Because advertisers want to know that, man. They want to know how many men, how many women, how old are they? They just always will. And until digital is able to quantify those numbers you're not going to see the big advertisers like Goodyear Tire, Budweiser Beer. You know, the really big money ads are not on digital, as you probably noted. But there are some smaller businesses, and they pay some decent bread. You know, I mean, I pull down a few thousand in a good month from advertisers. So, you know, that's kind of a basic primer there, Ryan. I'm sure that once we get off the phone, I'll think about 5 million other things. Your equipment is important. I don't know what kind of studio you have, but I believe it should sound as professional as possible. It should sound as radio quality as possible. And that I have a digital board. I've got a Sonos digital board, which means I don't need baffling or anything in the studio. I use a gate and a limiter, and it sounds like I'm in a soundproof room. You know, I've got Electrovox microphone and all that good stuff, and I have my software that I use for the show. So, you know, you want to make sure that that's a good professional sound, and you can be in a bedroom or wherever. It doesn't matter anymore because, like I say, with these digital boards, you can turn your sound into something that's pretty good. So
I have a pretty good setup here. I have a Yamaha mixing board, which connects to my MacBook, and then I have 4 microphones if I ever have guests in my little small apartment. The only thing that isn't the best is what I have to do is I don't know how to take calls, so I hold my cell phone next to the microphone. But what happens is What's up?
No, I was just laughing at that because I was thinking about doing that myself once.
It's a pain in the ass, but what you do is I sit back in the back of my chair and I let the guest talk so you don't hear the breathing in the microphone. And then afterwards, I just go up and I change the sound with the effects on Adobe. So then it sounds like a phone call on the radio. It actually sounds pretty good. If you do it right and you're able to have the patience to hold your arm on the table and hold it up for 30, 40 minutes, I mean, it can sound pretty good. It doesn't sound like amazing, but it sounds like 4 out of 5. It sounds good.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah, you can get a call screening, and I know you're not screening calls, but it's a call screening program, pretty easy, and a way of answering calls. That I've got that. I don't use it, but I did use it back when we were still doing the radio show. So with just taking 1 or 2 phone calls for guests and stuff, it might be a relatively easy thing. It might save your arm in the long run. Who knows? You know? that's something you can do. And everything, of course, Ryan, is a relative expense. You know, some things are more expensive than others. Some things, you know, cost more. I've got a TriCaster, which is a computer for video televising or video casting the show. That sucker cost me $40,000, and now New Tech TriCaster is making a mobile unit that's only $9,000. So, you know, you live and you learn, and you live and you watch the price come down as the technology improves too. I suspect it's going to be coming down more with the number of people that do podcasting. The only thing that I think could happen is there'll be a shakeout of a lot of this product. It'll go away. You know, people will say, I can't do this shit. You know, it's too difficult, or I don't have enough time, or whatever. And some of these shows may go away. But the vacuum will be filled by others, perhaps. And right now there's no federal control over content, so it's really a wonderful wide open playing field there, you know. And then, you know, just promoting. And you try to get invited on to other guys' shows. If you have a guy on your show, ask him, hey, man, I'd love to be on your show sometime. So you get a little bit of cross-promotion yourself, you know. So there's different models, but those are some basic ideas. And I would say if it was today and you were just starting new today, I'd say keep working hard on that. But do begin to make some inquiries into placing a show on a platform that you can get cross-promoted on. And there's got to be millions of them. I haven't even researched it. I know we're on Podcast One, but I haven't even looked into how many different podcast platforms there are, you know.
The thing, too, is I'm really proud of what I have here because I used to record at work, but they came up with the choice that if you're not making the company money and it's a podcast on the side, they didn't want you to record after hours, which I'm fine with. I'm completely fine with. So I had to build this and pay for this on my own, and I'm happy with what I have, but it did cost like $500 to $600. So it was like, that was like the maximum, and I had to ask my mom for help. So that's the only thing that's kind of annoying about doing a podcast, is you want to be like Adam or like you or Anthony Cumia or Joe Rogan. But the thing is, like, if you have basic income, you can't afford to do what like Anthony Cumia is doing over at the Compound Media Network. So that's the only thing that's kind of annoying about podcasts is, as Adam said, you have to invest in yourself to get success. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's true. And it doesn't mean, but the good news is this, man, you're not paying somebody else, you're paying yourself. You know, you're building it, this is your thing that you're building, and you're not forking over to some manager or agent or somebody, that might be a way for some unscrupulous guys to make money. In fact, I've often thought I had to just chuck it all and just start some kind of a broadcast podcast school and take, a couple of $100 per guy and give them some bullshit lesson on how to do podcast. But my mama didn't raise a boy like that, so I'm doing this. But you're investing in yourself, so it's a good investment, and you'll see the money back with success. And right now, you're doing what you can, But so long as it's listenable, you got no problems.
So I want to get your take on the news too, because you're a very outspoken guy. What is your take on that?
Can I ask you one more question, Ryan?
What's up, Phil?
Have you seen from last year to this year, 1 year ago to today, let's say, or any point from year to year, do you see an increase in your downloads or listens or whatever the number is that you use? Have you seen some gain, some growth?
I have, and I've seen, like, and this might sound like such a narcissist thing to say, but when you do Facebook Live, you can see who's viewing it. Like, you can see who's viewing it during the show. It'll be like, this person checked in or this person. And at times, it's pretty impressive when you see a lot of the friends I'm friends with from like the morning show boot camp or at work watching my show. Even if it's 20 seconds, the idea that they're clicking on it and watching it is flattering. So to me, that's the biggest increase. I have decent listens. I have decent downloads. But what's impressive is, like, I had my girlfriend on the show like 3 weeks ago, and they played it on Drew's show in the afternoon and Mike Kelter's show in the morning. So it seems like if I put out good content, at times, even if they're teasing it, it seems like it's doing something right. You know what I mean?
There you go, right there, man. That's it right there. It's like we have that phrase in digital and in the internet, going viral, right? That's the goal, essentially. You want something that'll go viral. You want something that'll get picked up and just keep getting repeated over and over and over again. Facebook Live's great, and Periscope's great. So it's pretty amazing. Anyway, you want to ask another question? I interrupted you.
It's all good, man. What is your take on everything going on in Cleveland right now, even though the guy is probably not in Cleveland? Do you think the Cleveland cops did something wrong, or is he a madman that is on the loose for a reason? Do you think they didn't do enough to get him originally tomorrow, or on Sunday, rather?
Yeah, you know what, man? I don't know enough about the story to say whether the Cleveland police screwed up or not. But I'm familiar with, you and I are familiar, and everybody listening is familiar with Facebook Live. You just bang, you put it up on the air, and a few people will check it and go, I'll check this shit out. And this next thing you know, this guy's killed somebody. I don't know how quickly from that moment the Cleveland police or the appropriate agency was informed. Was it within seconds? Was it within minutes? Did people think it was a joke? I don't know. But the guy, I will tell you this, I don't believe, unless the guy's a complete idiot, that he's going to kill somebody and hang around the neighborhood. So the dude's in a car, and the car can reach some pretty good speeds, and there's a freeway close. By the time the Cleveland police were alerted, I have no doubt the guy was out of the jurisdiction and might have been out of the state. And where was he going? We do not know. If that's one key, though, you figure if the cat's in Cleveland, he's probably heading for a state line rather than staying in Ohio.
Yeah, Cleveland's not the biggest city. Cleveland's a big city. It's a major market, but it's not the biggest city.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a big, small town. So you would assume somebody would see him after he put it on Facebook. So obviously he's going to leave the Cleveland area.
Oh, I believe that. And it's hard for me to second-guess the cops until we know everything. But I think the best thing to do is to give them the support that they need, which means basically if you see this guy, let any local or national police agency know about it. And I think it's outrageous. And I think Ryan, Facebook and all of this new age of communication has enabled these psychopaths who are all about themselves and all about control and all about bringing some meaning to their lives because they have no emotional life. That left them early on, around the age of 3. Psychopaths and sociopaths lose their ability to feel anything. So that's one of the reasons why they kill. It gives them some emotional, to use a radio word, content. And with things like Facebook Live and Twitter and all that, man, that really empowers people like that. That doesn't necessarily empower them to commit a crime, but you and I know that there's all kinds of abnormal personalities on social media, manipulating people, harassing people, trolling people, being vicious with people. So it's a very, very sad extension of what is otherwise an amazing time in history, which I think the internet has provided us with a great opportunity to learn and to understand, what communication is, what news is.
What I love, too, is I feel like somebody on Facebook is always watching our live videos. There's always some way they're kind of watching what's going on. And I love how when I did my podcast one time and I played 10 seconds of Eminem, they shut down the show completely. But then when this happens live on a video, they didn't ever shut it down. It's just, I find Facebook to be very weird at times because here's what they said to the media when they were asked about the incident. They said basically, we do not approve of these actions. And I thought that was the most bland corporate response ever. Like, I used to love Facebook, but now I just use it to promote my brand. I find it to be a very flawed website.
I agree with you. I think their fan pages, those personality pages, whatever they're called, sure, you have one, I have one, they're very useful. They've got good metrics that they share with you and let you utilize. The thing about the new wave of digital and internet business is the overhead is really low, and they want to keep the overhead low. So when a guy says, "Oh wow, I got a website, and I'll let people just film whatever they want, and they can go out and just do this, that, and something else," it's saving him money. If he's going to sit there and hire, who knows, 100 people to monitor constantly the content, the live video content that's going out, that's overhead. That's going to cost him a lot of money. And he's got to come up with a really good reason why he doesn't do that. And, I think at Facebook they've got any level of bullshit that they roll out on any given day, to explain what they do. And this is true, I think, of YouTube as well. YouTube, slaps shit up there, which is cool. I understand they can't check to see whether something's copyright protected or not. But I will tell you this, that my stuff gets put up there all the time in violation of my copyright. And we get takedowns because I've got a legal firm that represents me in that sense. But YouTube sure takes their sweet time pulling that stuff down. And I was asking a friend of mine about that. He said, "Well, what do you think, man? They make their money on content. They're not going to just start pulling stuff down the minute they get a letter from a lawyer. They'll say, 'Oh, well, are you really Mr. Hendrie's attorney? Would you please verify this information,' etc." And so that's another we've lost, But it comes down. It's an interesting story. CBS sued YouTube, saying that YouTube had not done enough to keep CBS-owned and operated, or I should say CBS-owned programming off of YouTube. YouTube said, "Bullshit, we take it down, and you're wrong." So CBS purposefully threw at YouTube, I think over a 48-hour period, a whole shit pot load of takedown notices, man. I mean, they just dumped a dump truck full of takedown notices to prove in court that YouTube was not taking stuff down, didn't have the ability to take stuff down quick enough, et cetera, et cetera. Would you believe that YouTube took every last one of those things down over that period of time? So when CBS went back into court, they had nothing. So
CBS seems like a very weird company. The whole idea of CBS, it just seems like a very bizarre company. There's just something about it.
The whole idea of them? Well, I'll tell you what, they had Adam Carolla doing mornings for them here in Los Angeles. When Howard left, they had Adam, and they had the beginnings of the next generation of FM talk. And they fired him. You know, it didn't happen fast enough. They didn't understand. They didn't get what was happening. You know, you saw the story. And Adam went off into the world of podcasting and is, you know, making all that money, and he's not having to share it with CBS. So, you know, what do you say to that? I don't know.
That whole era of radio was bizarre when they put Rover in the Midwest and then David Lee Roth and then Opie and Anthony and Adam. It's like they didn't really seem to get how important it was to find the right replacement. And to me, Adam and Opie and Anthony were the ones that, if they were given more time, would have had success later on. But I think they just were expecting people to come in immediately within 6 months and have the same ratings as Howard, which is not going to happen when you have the king of all media on FM radio.
No, it ain't going to happen, but it was beginning. And you got to have real savvy and I think you got to be a real radio person, as we were saying. And Les Moonves was running the show, and he's a TV guy, man. He's an ad exec first, a television guy second, and I don't think he knows anything about radio. And I say that with all due respect, but he doesn't. And so this was the disaster that hit FM talk there on CBS. You know, they don't seem to really care. Like, you can say, dude, you just lost, I don't know, you lost several $1 million a year by not sticking with FM talk. Oh, well, you know, la-di-da. You know, it's like, well, why don't you just sell your network then, okay, if that's your attitude? Because you're not doing anybody any favors.
Well, that's basically what happened. Entercom basically bought them out. I mean, CBS Radio, I don't want to see jobs go because I have a lot of friends that work with CBS Radio. But, I mean, they got bought out recently, so things aren't good for them. It seems like they haven't recovered since the free FM debacle.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that. And I don't know what's up with iHeartMedia. I haven't listened to them in years, and I don't know, man. I just, it's like, you know, whatever. You know, the thing of it is when I was a kid, I wanted to do the greatest radio show in the world, you know, and then as I got older, I thought, well, I want to do the best damn radio show I can do. And I believe I achieved that. I never thought that doing the best radio show that I could possibly do wouldn't be enough. You know, like there was something else I needed to do. Some other thing I needed to be. And that's why I got out of radio, man. That's why I said, well, if that ain't good enough, then I don't need it, you know, and I'll find some other way of doing my thing, you know, and that's how this whole thing was born. So that's something to keep in mind, man. You know, that's something to keep in mind. If you really want to do radio, and you do the greatest radio show that you possibly can, and they're like, well, we're moving on to something else here, man. We're going to, I don't know, we're doing rodeo talk or something. You're just like, what planet am I on now? Who needs that?
Now, before I let you go, man, why should people check out your show? What is so great about listening to your podcast?
Oh, I don't know. It's a big cartoon. Just a guy doing a whole bunch of, I think it's funny. It's unrestrained. It's a big cartoon featuring 5 characters interacting as if it's a real show, as if it's a real morning show, or any kind of a radio show. The topics, you know, as I used to do in my radio show, the topics ostensibly are serious, but they just devolve into idiocy very, very quickly. And I think it's the closest thing to, you know, maybe the kind of radio show I always wanted to do all along, which is just, I've got sidekicks and people in the studio, but they're not real people because you can't really control real people. So they're all made up people, so I can make them say anything I want them to say. And believe that pound for pound, it's a pretty funny show. I don't think that I think that it's got a lot of laughs in it, and more than most radio shows, that's for sure. And I think it's competitive in that sense. So, the most important thing is I'm having a good time doing it, and I don't know that I would ever want to go back to radio unless they wanted to offer me a whole lot of money and allow me to be as uncensored as I am now. And that's not going to happen either. So, that's just it, man. Check it out. It's an hour long each day, and and we also have our website, which is the gist of our business, philhendrieshow.com. That's where all of the radio shows are archived, going back. In some cases, they go back over 20 years, and we have the entire national show archived there. So it's a pretty good bang for your buck in terms of comedic content, audio comedy.
Well, Phil, keep up the good work, man. I'm glad we've been able to talk online the past few years, so it's been a lot of fun having you on Hoppe Hour, my man.
All right, brother. All the best. Best of luck, man. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Phil. And that was radio legend Phil Hendrie as he called into Hoppe Hour, a guy I met at the Morning Show Boot Camp a few years ago, and he could not have been more gracious. Now, if you're a fan of Phil Hendrie and you want to check out my show, it's not hard. It's not rocket science. All you have to do is go to the app shop, search up Hoppe Radio, Hoppe Radio. There you can listen to me literally anywhere in the world. If you have access to a smartphone, all you got to do is get the Hoppe Radio app. Tweet at me at Ryan Hoppe Radio, and that's all the social media platform names. And it's also Hoppe Radio on Snapchat because they won't let me change the name. Like me on Facebook, Hoppe Hour. And if you ever want to watch my live Facebook videos where I do my show live, tweet at me at Ryan Hoppe Radio, and I will let you know when I do it live. And then go to my public Facebook, Ryan Hoppe, and you can watch it there. This has been Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, saying peace out.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.